By the way, today we're going to have some practical lessons as well. And so just in case you're in front of a computer, so that would probably be better. And correct me if I'm wrong, Rachel.
Hi guys, welcome. Can you hear me right? Great. Yes, absolutely. We'll have practical training. So if you can log into your computer, it will be best. So you'll see the exercises in full. So Yuval and Edna, I've made you co-host, so you can take over the entry of people. And Yuval, you're in charge today of the chat.
No problem. So by the way, I see that many people are here already. So make sure that when you write in the chat, write to everyone, okay? And not just to someone specific, because the Zoom chat might be a bit buggy. And I want to know right now, that right here in the chat, where you are right now in the world, just so we'll know.
You can unmute yourself.
All right, so we have Israel, China, Taiwan, Munich, Stockholm, Sweden, Israel again,
Tokyo.
Italy, Tokyo, Ireland,
US.
India, Berlin. That's amazing.
Oh, it's being recorded.
Okay, Spain, Israel, Germany, Prague, Berlin, India, Italy, Tokyo again.
All over the world.
Right? Pretty international.
Yeah. Usually it's from global to local. Now it's from local to global.
Right.
Refreshing change.
Okay, I'm seeing here some students from the Ukrainian Academy as well. Hey, Emily. Hey, Lenore. How are you, Lenore? Good to see you.
Good, how are you?
I'm good, I'm good. Happy to have you here.
Thank you.
All right, people from Oregon, North Carolina, Cologne, Israel, Spain again, Prague. Hey, Juanit. Okay. Okay, so we will start in a few more minutes. Let's wait for everyone to join us. People from all over the world are here. This is exciting, which is good for a localization workshop, right, Rachel?
Absolutely. and it's good for the world, at least for the digital world.
Okay, Anya is here. Anya from our team. Hey, Anya, how are you?
Hi, Liat. We have Liat, who is a teacher in Versio Academy. And I see a few of our graduates here as well.
Hey, God, what's up? Good to see you here.
Good. How are you doing, Yuval?
I'm good, I'm good. Happy to have you here.
Great. Thank you.
All right, so more people are joining. We're around 76 here on the chat. And let's wait for more to join.
Full house today.
100%.
Yeah.
Hey, Sarah, how are you? Good to see you.
Too.
Okay. So I'm letting more people in now.
Yes, let's give it a minute or two and then we'll start.
No problem. But anyway, if you'll start and more people would like to join, me and Edna and I would help to onboard them to the call. So don't worry about it.
That's why I've made you co-host today.
Brilliant.
Okay, we'll wait 1 more minute to 5 to 6 and we'll start. Okay, so let's start. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today and to join us on our workshop. It will be focused on localization. I'm Rachel. I will be your host today along with Yuval Keshtecher. Did it right. So let me share my screen and we'll start. Okay, can you see my screen? Great. Okay, so why can't I see myself and you guys?
There is some kind of a view option.
Yeah, here, okay.
Found it?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Great. Okay, I can see a few of you. Okay, so as I said, hi everyone, and thank you very much for taking the time to join us today and to learn a bit more about localization and how it can help you with your UX writing and design. So, okay, so we'll start with a brief introduction and we'll see what happens when there's no proper localization. Then we'll talk a bit more about localization and where we can find it. I will give you some good writing practices, and then it will be your time to get your hands dirty and practice. And finally, we'll talk about the localization for UX course, and we'll have Q&As. Yuval here is in charge of the chat, so you can go ahead and ask questions or any comments that you have. And after each chapter, we'll have some time for questions if you have. So let's start with us. So I'm Rach. I'm the founder of Versio Translations and Versio Academy. I've been in the translation industry for the past 30 years, 16 of which I've been mostly doing localization. I'm a Google certified translator. I basically brought Google to Israel 16 years ago. I'm the Hebrew lead linguist for Airbnb and language specialist for Yandex. I'm member of the Standard Institute of Israel's Committee for Text and Graphic-Based Elements in UI and right-to-left environment. I'm founder of the Israeli localization community on Facebook, which is currently in Hebrew, but soon will be in English as well. If you are aware of Clubhouse and you're a member, check us out. We have a localization talks club. And I'm an entrepreneur and French, as you can hear, and constant seeker for the best next thing in localization. Versio Academy is the leading school for localization in Israel, which was founded 3 years ago. We aim to build a strong community, global community of linguists and writers in localization. Our graduates are involved in leading projects for global companies like Airbnb, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Skype, Facebook, and many others. Our courses are in line with today's demands by global companies, so we are using state-of-the-art tools and technologies. And we teach localization, translation review, subtitling, legal translation for digital content, digital writing, conversation and chatbot design, and now localization for UX, only in English, that course. So with me today, Yuval Keshtecher would go ahead and introduce yourself and the UX Writing Hub.
All right, so welcome everyone. My name is Yuval. I'm the founder of the UX Writing Hub. I will drop a few relevant links in the chat. I'm hosting a podcast named Writers in Tech. I really recommend you to check it out. We have a free course on our website that you can check if you want to get into the field of UX writing. This talk today is going to be more focused about after you got your training in UX, so how to localize your product. So this talk today will be a bit more relevant. And that's about it. So I'll drop the links in the chat to the podcast and to the hub, to our blog, to our weekly newsletter, and you can definitely more than invited to check it out.
Great. Okay, so let's see what happens when there's no proper localization. And we'll start with a question for you. In 1999, Mars climate orbiter suddenly crashed. Can you guess why? You can unmute yourself or use the chat. So basically, because different parts of the software didn't speak the same language, the ground unit spoke in European metric units, whereas the spaceship's aviation unit spoke in American imperial units.
I must say that people in the chat got it right. Carolina said that they had a problem with the measuring units. And I see here metric versus imperial. This is something Sarah said. So we had a few good answers here.
Great. Now let's see another example, creepy one. So Pepsi's slogan, "Come alive with the Pepsi generation," was translated in Taiwanese to "Pepsi will bring your ancestors back from the dead." Whoops, it's more than whoops, it's more creepy than that. So what is localization? Localization, or L10N, 10 stands for the number of letters between the L and the N. It derives from the Latin word local, people or who share a language, scripts, and social and cultural characteristics. Well, basically, a locale can be a country, a region, or a community. For example, FRCA is the locale for Canadian French, ESCI for Chilean Spanish, and HEIL for Hebrew. The formal definition of localization is the process of adapting and manufacturing a product so that it has the look and feel of a nationally manufactured piece of goods. Thus, localization is the piece of the global business puzzle that enables companies to do business in markets outside of their home market. We have a rather lighter and clearer definition. Localization is the process of adapting a product, service, or digital content to the language and culture of the target locale, so that the end result would sound natural in that locale. Translation is not the only part of localization process. Translation involves in the linguistic adjustment to the target audience as well as to the local culture. But localization is much more than that. it includes adjusting graphic components, adjusting content to local consumption habits, adjusting the overall design, converting to local norms such as temperatures, length, speed,
Windows on your monitor.
using local formats for currencies and dates and time, and following local rules, regulations, and laws. So localization is a very comprehensive process. Where can we find localization? In digital content, website, apps, games, videos, bots, tutorials. And the type of content varies. We have user interfaces, which is UI, user assistants, or UA, help articles, documentations, e-learning, every content related to marketing, ads, email, campaigns, and social, legal, terms of use and end user license agreement, and much more. So how do we localize? In the process, we use dedicated tools and technologies. We call them CAT tools, computer assisted translation, which have a translation memory and a term-based terminology. When we localize, we follow organizational voice and tone, basically following the style guide and the company's glossary. Localization is an organizational process, or at least it should be an organizational process. And it should be involved in the strategy and part of the global content strategy, how to adjust the product or services to the markets, and what are the required resources. It should be aligned with the business goals, in this case, take over the world. The company needs to have solid understanding of the target markets in terms of culture, politics, legal. And it is basically part of the content management process right from the start when you guys are creating the content, setting organizational norms, using the style guide, preparing the content for localization, the actual localization and translation, the content integration, which includes QA, and the final distribution of the end product. What do users expect from the content to be? In their native language, it should be clear, inoffensive, and written in proper language, and appropriate in all aspects, those that I spoke about earlier, about layout, formats, norms, etc. Did you know that 9 out of 10 global users ignore a product if it's not in their native language? And 90% of people want to learn in their native language. I think that's the first stop we'll have for questions. So Yuval, if anyone has questions from the audience or comments.
One question about if the slides are going to be shared afterwards with the recordings.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect.
Okay. So let's dive into
one second.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
One person just told me, okay, do you have best practices details about tools to help with the process?
Well, there are a lot of tools that writers can use and localizers use. It mostly depends on the company, the end company, or the translation agency. We won't go over the tools in this workshop, but absolutely we'll cover everything in our course, which I'll go into later in this workshop.
Okay, so most of the questions are about the tools. Maybe if by the end we'll have some more time to cover some basic stuff about the tools, but not right now.
Sure.
Lenore is asking, can you please describe a little more about user assistance? Are there standards?
Well, user assistance means the help articles, how to take, for example, the help center of a Google or Microsoft or Facebook. They have trainings for users to do specific actions. So
Right.
if you want to know how to add a slide in Google Slides, you will go to Google Help Center, and then there you will see the, you could find the article that covers that.
Like documentation, right?
Yes.
That most often is written by like technical writers in many companies.
Technical writers, yes, or engineers sometimes. It depends on the structure of the organization.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully not by the developers. That would be
Yes.
more complicated to understand.
Any more questions, Ivan?
One last question. So what's the difference between term-based and glossary?
Well, term-based is the place where the all the glossary is kept. It's like the dictionary of the company. It includes all the glossaries, so you can have a glossary for a marketing content, or for legal terms that you want to the translators and localizers to use. So the term base is the reservoir where all the glossary is kept in that tool. And translation memory means that whenever a translator translates content in the CAT tool, the translation is stored and saved in the translation memory. So next time that they will encounter that same exact sentence or any similar sentence, the CAT tool, the tool will show up that translation, so we can keep as much consistency and as possible.
Amazing. So we have a few more questions, but we would like to move forward for now, right, Rachel?
I'm here to answer any question that
sounds good. So two last questions for now.
Sure.
Which is a question that was asked twice, I assume. So do you have best practices to prep content for localization?
Well, that's what we're going to cover now.
Perfect. And one more, do you have any tips for how to evaluate the quality of localized text when you don't know the target language?
Well, I can give you a tip not to use any online translation tool like Google Translate. Well, you should definitely use the assistance of a translator who speaks the language. There isn't really any tool that can assess the quality of a translation, any automated tool. You need the person to do that. You need an expert translator who is proficient in that subject matter. So legal content should be evaluated by translators who do legal translations, and same for medical and technical and so forth. So there isn't any automated tool. You should go to a translator to do that, a certified one.
Amazing.
Okay.
All right. So thank you for the great questions, everyone, and we'll move forward.
Let's dive into the writing practices. So a good source would be clear and fluent, focusing on the user and conveying a key message using natural phrasing. And let's see how we do that. When you write for localization, you should know what you're writing. What is the content type you're writing right now? Is it a assistant guide or an article or an email and so forth. You should know who you're writing for, the user, what are their characteristics, what are the characteristics of the target audience. You should identify the focal point, what is your key message, and keep it simple. Use clear words and write to the point. That's the first practice. There's always room for improvement. And remember that if the translator can't understand you, the end user won't understand you either. Makes sense. Get to the point fast. Choose your words carefully and keep an eye on the focus. And we'll have examples of everything in the practical part of that this workshop. Be clear, not clever. Keep it short and simple, and use simple words and sentence structures. And remember that in digital, people are browsing; they are not reading. So they are just browsing the screens, trying to find the key message that they are looking for, or keywords to know if to keep on reading or to skip to the next text. Explain local humor, puns and rhymes. They don't always localize well. And we have here an example in the mag. What's the difference between a guitar and a fish? You can tune a fish. It doesn't really work in most of the languages. So it's better to explain, add an explanation so that the translator can understand the pun and convey, find a localized version of that pun, a pun or a joke. Use active rather than passive voice. First why, then what, then how. So you don't lose the reader and the reader doesn't get lost. Choose your words wisely and avoid unnecessary words. I like this image, cut it out. Write as you would say it. Imagine being the company's support representative, and you need to explain to me how I can add a chart to Excel. Use only words that you would use, that you would say to explain it. And don't overdo with superlatives. Congratulations, you have successfully created your account. 3 exclamation marks. We don't need that. Now, there is a big issue here, rich versus poor, rich language versus poor language. English has a very rich vocabulary compared to Hebrew, which has only 1/3 of the vocabulary. So I try to find the best tips that I can give you for words that you should use with caution. And let's start with synonyms. Abort, cancel, discard, dismiss, call off, drop, revoke, annul, void. All of those might have different meanings in English, but in Hebrew, for example, they practically all mean the same, cancel. So if you're using abort and cancel in buttons, or discard and dismiss, the the person who translates your content, I'm not sure he will know what each means. And we have words that we call them fozami, which can have several meanings, like normally, virtually. Is it normally as usually, or normally as in normal, virtually in the cloud, or virtually in the other meaning? And we have modal verbs that sometimes we can see in English text, in source text, like might, may, could, can, and they might say one thing, but mean another thing completely. Like might could be as a suggestion, or it could be as something that you must do. We also have modifiers. Item list. Is it a list of one item or several items? The same for user accounts. Are these several accounts of the same user or several accounts of several users? And proximity agreement, your support team representative email address is, and this is a relatively a short one. We encounter quite a few very long proximity agreement that make it harder for us to understand which part belongs to which section in the sentence. So just a table of words that you should use with caution and be mindful about. Any questions about this part? Yuval?
So I'm here. I'm just, I didn't see any question, just some comments.
Okay.
And hold on. So Adas is asking, 1 second. Is there a best way to structure a sentence that will be translated from English to other languages? Like best ways?
Well, we covered some of them, and now we're approaching the section where you will have a chance to get your hands dirty and practice. So those are the best practices that I've been identifying as the pain points for me as a localization expert. And on the one hand, and on the other hand, the end companies and their requirements to practice or to use those best practices. I'm sure you know that the end goal of any company should be user satisfaction or user experience. So employing those best practices will improve the user experience, and hence we'll have happy customers or happy returning customers.
Amazing. And I have here a few more questions. So one is, are ordinals difficult to translate? Example, your first order will be delivered on Monday.
I think it could be translated quite easily. I don't see a problem with translating that sentence.
And another question by Amy Gibbons. Can you explain the problem with the proximity agreement example? What would be the preferred way to say it? Shortened to your representative's email address.
Okay, so here I would change it to the email address of your support team representative. By changing the order of words, it's much clearer. And we'll see in a bit another example of a proximity agreement. And again, that's a relatively short one. We sometimes have longer, like your support team representative, manager or account manager email address is. The longer it is, the harder it is for us to decipher the meaning and to really understand which part belongs to which, or which word belongs to which other word.
Right. So, okay, one more. Okay, so first of all, Diana is saying that there are some people with their mics open. So I'm trying to mute people that have their mics on, but mute yourself if you don't have anything to say at the moment. And Pam is asking, should possessives be avoided then?
Can you give me, Pam, an example of a sentence using possessives?
The representative's email address.
Representatives S with apostrophe?
Yes.
Or
yes.
Well, I don't think it should cause a problem because of the apostrophe, because of that that small addition that makes it clearer. So here, if we can add a representative's email address, it will be clearer that the email address is of the representative in the support team.
Rachel, there is
Yeah.
just one thing that is possible to add about it.
Of course.
If in such a sentences apostrophe will be a tag, that might be a problem depending on which cut tool you use. So it's if you can avoid the apostrophes, if it's not really necessary, then sometimes it's better. Because other languages like Hebrew don't have this kind of representation of the possessive.
Yes, that's correct. And tags and placeholders are parts in the tool that are referring to variables. They can be known variables or unknown variables. So they will be either replaced by the system or by the user, Liat? Can a placeholder be replaced by a user? No, they can't.
It really depends on how the content is built. It can take many different forms.
Yes.
But
yes.
this is relates to another question which we were asked before about how to prepare the content, and this will be discussed in the course itself. We don't have the time for it now.
In length, the course is really going in the, we say in Yiddish, in the kitschkes, like in the real in-depth course about almost everything that needs to be known about localization. So today's workshop is more about writing best practices for localization. Do we have any more questions? Thank you for your questions so far.
We have one question about the course, but we'll leave it to the end of the workshop, okay?
Okay.
All right, let's go.
Okay, so your turn to practice. Yuval, would you prefer them to unmute themselves and participate vocally or use the chat?
100%. I feel like with the mic, it's completely fine. Just let's be like mindful for our microphone and make sure that we open it only if we have something to say. So we wouldn't create like clusters of noises.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's dive. Installed apps. Installed app info from your devices was previously saved by the device information setting. What do you think which best practice this content represents, and how would you rewrite it? Take a minute. Any suggestions?
Okay, so I see here in the chat, the device information settings saved your installed app info.
Which best
That's-
practice of
Maybe-
the ones we covered?
Maybe we can show the slides of the best practices. And,
Or I can show the best practice and then the guys could rephrase it. So
Alright.
in this case, change the order of words for the sake of clarity. How would you rephrase that sentence under this principle of changing the order of words for the sake of clarity?
حقت التمثلة. Okay.
Yuval, any suggestions?
Yes, so I'm seeing here. Okay, we have a lot of suggestions over here. Hold on. Is there anyone that want to maybe open their mic and explain their suggestion? That will be even nicer.
Even better.
Maybe Daniel Perry. Daniel?
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Not
Hi,
bad.
Daniel.
Yourself?
I'm pretty good. Thank you for commenting. And
I'm just trying to find my comment again to see what I said.
so it says previously saved data from this app has been saved on this device.
Yes. So to me, the important bit was the information being saved on the device. So the installation of the app had nothing really to do at the beginning. So by restructuring it, it just made it clearer.
Well, it's less about the installation of app and more about information about apps that are installed in the device.
Mm-hmm.
So I came up with info from your devices regarding installed apps was previously saved in the device information setting. Here we can see that the device information are capitalized. So this is the name or the name of the setting. And by changing the order of words, it makes simpler to understand. Even just moving the word info. Info from your devices regarding installed apps was previously saved in the device information setting. Let's take a look at another example. You can refine your search results by price, so you find products that fit your budget. Any guess which of the best practices it refers to?
Sarah Kessler is saying lead with benefit first.
Lead with benefit first. Any others, or how will she?
Sarah Kessler.
Sarah, yeah. Sarah, how would you
So I would
that?
rephrase it like to find products that fit your budget, refine your search results by price.
Yes, absolutely. First what and why, and then how. To find products that fit your budget, exactly. Refine your search results. And here we can see a very good example. I think it's from, I don't see my screen, hold on, from Wix. A good example of first why, what and why, and then how. Let's try another one. I need to take air for this one. Before taking action as described below, we'll provide you with advance notice, describe the reason for our action, and give you an opportunity to fix the problem unless we reasonably believe that doing so would. what problem or what issue do you identify here? And what's your suggestion to fix it?
Okay, so Ariana is saying, where can you see the, so Ariana is asking, where can you see the recording? Ariana will send you the recordings for sure. RJ is saying too many words. Jennifer Thompson is saying, before you act. And Diana Paolo is saying, legalless.
Try split long sentence into two shorter ones. This is way too long sentence. Now that you have the best practice, how would you rephrase it?
And RJ is saying, I have no idea what this sentence even means. Carolina is having an accessibility concern referring to absolute placement below. This doesn't make sense if you're using a screen reader. True. Bullet points for sure. And that's a smart comment, Carolina. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Angela is saying, guaranteed that the English speaking audience wouldn't get it. And
She
then
says
saying
that
it's
English speaking wouldn't get it.
yes.
So imagine how we'll understand it. We translators, localizers. So my
Okay, so
suggestion will be...
Jennifer, I have a suggestion. Before you act, we'll provide advance notice, describe the reason, give you an opportunity to fix the problem. Well, Jennifer, would you like to explain your solution?
Hey, yeah, I was just thinking, I don't know, I don't really understand what the sentence means, but it makes sense to split into
it's real life examples.
Yeah. Yeah, I just figured either as a list or with bullet points. So before taking action, and then colon, and then 3 simple bullet points. But I don't understand the end of the sentence, so that might not make sense.
Well, it continues, but that's the first section of the sentence. I simply split it into 2 sentences. We'll send you an advance notice before taking the actions described below. The notice will specify the reason for our action, and you'll be able to fix the problem unless we reasonably believe that doing so, blah, blah, blah. It already sounds a bit clearer. We're not lost. Remember the best practice that you don't want to lose the reader. Let's try another one. Oh, here we have a good example of fever, like Jennifer suggested using bullets. That's what fever did here. Instead of using one long sentence, they have a title and then used bullets. Take control and customize your news feed. First of all, who can understand what that really means?
So for example, if I have some kind of a news feed in, I don't know, maybe Medium or like an app for articles, so I can customize it for different topics or something like that.
And what are you taking control of?
Settings. This is something Sarah Kessler was saying. Something about personalizing your app experience. This is something that Ryan Jail said. Catherine is saying you're able to see the content you're actually interested in. Jennifer is saying take control by customizing your newsfeed. RJ is saying customize your newsfeed, see what you want when you want it. I like that one.
Yeah, approaching. Well, that gives you a clue of the right clearly. Basically, what they want to say is you decide what to show in your newsfeed.
Brilliant.
Makes sense.
Yep.
And here's a good example of Shopify for a clear writing. That one is, this one is an easy one. The file was sent by another user. Which best practice is it referring to?
Active voice, active voice, active,
Right.
active.
Active is better than passive. How would you say it? Another user sent the file. And here's a good example from Google Ads. You decide where you'd like to show your ads and we'll get them in front of the right people. Decide where to advertise. Clear. What's the problem here? Discover more efficient ways to manage your bids. What best practice is it referring to? Discover more efficient ways to manage your bids. Any suggestions, Yuval?
Rashida is saying too many words. Akan Kasha is saying first why, then what, then how. Holly Smith Wills is saying it could mean more ways for better ways or better ways. Angela is saying learn how to manage. So there is so many people here in the chat and it's keep jumping, so hold on. Angela is
There
saying,
is one word here that is problematic. Which one? And why?
let's see. More, of course.
Right.
Ways.
Yeah, dual meaning. Is it referring to the efficient or the ways? More ways or more efficient ways?
Right.
Here's an example. Your support team manager work address is, of course, here, that's another example for the proximity agreement. Who has a suggestion how we can simplify it?
Daniel Perry is saying the team manager's address is. Sarah is saying the work address for a support team manager is. Angela is saying remove work.
Well, you can't remove work because it's the work address or I could have complicated it by saying your support team manager business email address is. So work is important. We won't omit words that have meaning, that are important to the text. But we could say the work address of the support team's manager is. Here we have a few problems. You can change your preferences for user profile visibility by going to Account, Settings, Profile, Visibility Preferences, and choose how the profiles will be shown on screen.
Yes, Fiona. Oh, okay. Esteban is talking about the breadcrumbs. Ada is saying to reach your team manager, use the following work address. Oh, this is for the past example.
I identified here 3 problems or 3 best practices that we can employ here. The first is be mindful of modifiers. User profile. Because of the word visibility that refers directly to user profile, is it one user and one profile, or many profiles and many users, or many profiles and one user? The other one is first why and what, then how. And I colored the section so you can see how how it should be ordered. And the third one is less is more, get to the point fast. To change the visibility of users' profiles on screen, go to Account Settings, Profile Visibility Preferences. We basically said the same thing with 12 words less. And as you know, in the digital world, every space counts. How about this one? Cancel the data update. If you choose to cancel the update, the data will not be saved. Abort, cancel.
Both mean the same, Daniel Perry is saying. Ryan is saying the cancel conundrum, right? It happens a lot.
Right.
Angela is saying that the buttons are bad, CTAs are seem confusing, redundancy all over. Abort and cancel are confusing in other languages. And also in English, I would say it might even be confusing.
Absolutely. So let's avoid synonyms. And we can keep it even shorter and be clearer. Cancel the data update. If you cancel, the data will be lost. No, yes. Make sense? Here's another one. What's the problem here? The website has a link, but it doesn't work.
What doesn't work, the website or the link?
Well, you learned that with Gal. So.
No, I don't remember. Do you think I remember so well? I don't. I just had something like that yesterday.
As Oranit suggested, we don't know what doesn't work. So beware of implied pronouns. You can either say the website has a link that doesn't work, or the website has a link, but the link doesn't work, or the website has a link, but the website doesn't work, which is longer, and we probably can find a better way of saying that. Your battery is running low. You might want to plug in your PC. What's the issue here?
Might. Ryan, Emily, Roberta, and Katrin said might.
Yeah, like what happens if I don't?
And is it you should? Is it a suggestion? So beware of modal verbs, might, may, could, can, must, and sometimes we can see a notification like Google might collect your personal data. It doesn't mean that Google might or might not. It basically says that Google can, or any other company for that matter. Sorry, Google. So yeah, might want to a modal verb that could have, should have been avoided. Here's another example. After joining the beta, you'll need to link your devices again by scanning the QR code. Can you identify the best practice that should be improved here?
RJ saying need to.
Need to? Well, need to is pretty clear. It's something that you need to do.
Corinne is saying what, why, how. Sarah is saying that after is tricky.
And active is better than passive. The passive being by scanning the QR code. So, and we can keep it even shorter. After joining the beta, scan the QR code to relink your devices. Congratulations, you have successfully created your account. 70,000 exclamation marks.
All right, you gave it away this time.
Yeah, don't overdo it. You can say, congrats, you have a new account. Congrats on your new account. You have a new account.
I would have the festive emoji there as well.
Yeah. If you have any further questions, feel free to ask them. I will be glad to help you. Any suggestions of the...
Esteban is saying them.
Sorry?
So a few people said that the problem is the them. And oh, okay.
Let me give you the best practice. Less is more. Avoid unnecessary words, and there are plenty of unnecessary words here. Now, how would you rephrase that?
So Sarah said, if you have any further questions, please ask. I'm here to help. Exclamation mark.
Great suggestion.
RJ is saying, got questions? Contact us at.
Excellent.
Dana Tal is saying, any questions? I'm here to help. Dan is saying, I'll be glad to answer any other questions you have. Smiling.
So have more questions. I'll be happy to help. And the last one, how can we improve this message? We're so happy you're here. Welcome, John. It's so great to meet you. We can really help you stay organized and get more done. We created a short video to help you get started. Take a look.
Are they saying less is more?
Absolutely.
Have another less is more, keep it short.
And let's hear some suggestions of how can this be shortened or how to shorten it.
You're more than invited to hop on the call and just say it out loud.
It's an email. It's an email that a company is sending a new user.
Daniela is saying too many superlatives. Amy Gibbons saying, welcome, John. Watch this video for tips to get started.
We're so happy you're here. Great to meet you, John. With us, you can stay organized and get more done. To get started, watch the short video. Here I kept the most important parts of the greeting and what you can do with us, and simply ignored everything else. Same message, 10 words shorter. So let's recap. Localization is more than translation. It covers all digital contents. It's an organizational process that follows organizational language, voice of tone, the style guide, and users expect the content to be clear and in their language. And always, that should be your banner on the wall. A good source is clear and fluent, user-focused, conveys the key message using natural phrasing. Any questions?
Right. So I have a few questions here.
Okay.
Oh, wait. So Onet is saying, thank you very much. It was just a few comments about the last examples. All right, so anyone have any questions so far about the localization? This is asking, I was late, can we get the recording? Yes, you can. You're going to get the slides as well. We're going to send them to your email soon. Any other question?
Not a question, just a remark that there were a lot of very good other options of phrasing in the chat.
And maybe Yuval, we can share them as well.
Yeah, to be honest, you can save the chat on
Yes.
Zoom, and we can share them also as some kind of a file for sure. I see here another comment by Wang Regina. In a company, we don't do only the localization in a product, but also adding another function and stuff in a product. How to prove the value of the localization process? How to convince the product owner to localize a product?
Is the product localized in how many languages or how many locales? Well, first of all, you can send them this the link of this recording and the slides. It's a big question that companies sometimes weigh the cost versus the need, and the process is lengthy and it's pricey, for sure. But at the end of the day, think when a product isn't localized well, the companies has a lot more to lose than to gain. Because at the end of the day, if the user cannot understand the translation, if the company decides to save money by running the text through a algorithm like a Microsoft Translator or Google Translate, and there isn't a human person who checks that everything is okay, that the text is clear, then the company will eventually lose that user.
My favorite example is the Netflix example. So here in Israel, like my parents would never use an app like Netflix if it wasn't in Hebrew. And like my parents, there are millions of other users that wouldn't use that platform if it wasn't in their language. Just like Rachel said, 9 out of 10 say no to a product that is not localized to their own language. There's so many people on earth that want to feel that similarity. So there is a huge business value to localizing your products and localizing your writing, basically.
And doing a good job. Yeah, absolutely. Well, even you guys think of, would you rather read a text in English, assuming it's not your mother tongue, or would you prefer to read it in French or Spanish or Hebrew, German, or any other language? People are more inclined to or are drawn to content that they can understand at first without questioning what was the meaning of this word, and I don't understand what I need to do. So we usually go first to the content that we can mostly understand. And in each of our case is our mother tongue.
All right, so we have a question by Sarah Chon. Asking, what's the balance for watering down the first language to get ahead of the localization versus the translator's skill to localize?
I don't think I understood the question.
Hey, it's Sarah. I'll just jump in. I wanted to go back to your first example about Pepsi and the Taiwanese translation. So you could argue that because the Taiwanese translation was so terrible that the English concept for the campaign should have never been agreed upon or decided or chosen. So I guess I'm trying to figure out do you have a recommendation for that sweet spot where we acknowledge that not everything will be translated beautifully or literally, but you know, what's that kind of tipping point where we say that's not going to work? So,
well, everything shouldn't be translated exactly. I can give you the example of Coca-Cola. I don't remember the English slogan, and we had a workshop last year about localizing slogans. But in Hebrew, it's localized in a different way that it's suitable to the Israeli culture, to the Israeli characteristics. So no, you shouldn't localize verbally. You should understand the target audience, its culture, and its norms. And if, for example, if you take Japan and Israel, then Japan is a lot more polite and very respectful, and Hebrew is, or Israel is more of easygoing. So you won't be able to, you need to capture the nature of your target audience, and that's why it's very important to really study the target locale and its cultures and its language and formality or informality, and register. Do people talk in high register and write in high register or in low register? So you cannot or you shouldn't, and sometimes you can't verbally localize a product name or a slogan. Sometimes you even can leave it in English, or mostly in English, being a universal language. Does it answer your question, Sarah?
Yes, thank you. I think I'm agreeing with RJ that sometimes you need to be flexible to kind of move away from the original concept in that first language to really be sensitive to the natural expression in that localized language.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, every brand has a persona, and the translation and the words that you choose for that locale should be adjusted to the persona of the brand. And a brand can have different personas in different locales or different target audiences.
All right, Rachita is asking, I'm new to localization. Are there more exercise courses to practice? So we will cover that in a few seconds because we do have an advanced localization course and we're going to chat about it. So stay tuned if you want to listen to more info about that. And we have another question by Akan Nakshan, and I hope I pronounced it right. And I would love it if you would just jump on the call, if it's okay, and ask them, because there's two different questions and it will be better if you'll ask them. Are you here?
Hey, sure. Hi, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. So my first question is, how would you convince business stakeholders on the importance of having a single consistent source language?
A single consistent source language, well, usually you do have a consistent source language. The issue starts when you need to have different locales, different localizations, right?
For example, like I'm working in a Chinese company, so technically the source language is supposed to be English, but there are no English target audience for a particular sub-brand. So the source language right now is partly Chinese and partly English, and the translation generally is supposed to be done based on English content. But right now, because it is part Chinese, part English, so it's kind of no consistent source language, and it's kind of a tricky situation where we have to convince the stakeholders why English for this particular sub-brand is essential to have as a source language.
Well, first of all, when you translate from Chinese to English and then from English to Dutch, for example, something gets lost in translation. So it's always best to have the source written in, it should be the first language as the source. Now, if the company wants to penetrate new markets, for example, if it wants to penetrate Israel, it will have no choice but to localize its content either from Chinese to Hebrew or from English to Hebrew. And I can assure you that 99% with 99% assurance that if the text starts with Chinese and then moves to English and from English to Hebrew, it will be very difficult to really, for the target audience to really understand, because something is lost in translation. The more languages are involved in the process, the less understandable it is, or the less credible it is.
If I may add something to this question.
Sure.
If you do have a few source languages, I think one of the best practices would be to write a very good style guide that assures that all the localization done from any source language to any target language will follow the same tone and style.
Yes, and let me elaborate a bit about the style guide that Leah just mentioned and I mentioned earlier. Style guide is basically the Bible for writers and translators, and it specifies the target audience and the register and the persona of the company or of the brand or several brands, and what should be the internationalization norms, and what should be localized and what should be kept in the source language, like feature names or product names, and
what form of address?
Yeah, what form of address? Is it formal or informal? And what are the characteristics of the target audience? And each company should have one style guide per language or per locale. So when I'm not sure how to localize some content of any of my my clients, that's the first thing I go to. I go to the style guide and I just search what I need to know. It's crucial for any company to have that style guide because it lays out the voice and tone of the company, as Liat said here.
I've got another question which is not really related to source language. It's related to translation memory. How important would you think is having a cleansed translation memory, especially when you have like 18 translation languages or locales?
Well, the translation memory helps you keep consistency. And the localization process is a lengthy one. It's not a one-time project. You always renew content. And over the years, you might want to go back to something that was already localized and just change things, or you want to change things that were translated and now you want to rephrase it, or some things that are redundant. And the translation memory basically means that I don't have to go back in my files to try and find how did I translate a certain sentence, because everything, the entire translation reservoir is kept in one translation memory. You can have one per company or one per brand. It all depends. But a translation memory helps you keep consistent in all languages, all locales.
Would you think a glossary be a better solution for implementing consistency? Term-based or a glossary would be a better.
It's both.
Well, those are two different things that are very important, equally important. You need to have a glossary so that when a certain term should be translated in different locales, everyone will use the same translation. you need to have both, and a good CAT tool provides you both, a TM, translation memory, and term base. Okay?
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Well, I think that we can move on to the course.
Yes, so basically, I'll make a small intro, and if you want, we can address some more of your questions afterwards. So we've been looking for some kind of an advanced class for the UX Training Hub, and collaborating with Rachel is something that we've been working on for the past 6 months in order to create like more advanced classes for UX writers from all over the world. And localization was just a perfect fit topic for writers to get into. And Rachel will expand more about this class in a few seconds, but I'm very excited about this collab. And yeah, Rachel, take it away.
Yeah, so basically we joined forces to deliver a one-of-a-kind localization course for UX, where you will learn the best practices which are in line with the global company's requirements. And Versio Academy is a member of the academic program of leading technology companies such as Phrase, SmartCut, SmartLink, Crowdin. Those are some of the CAT tools. And during the course, you will have access to localization platforms and tools, and you'll be able to practice in real environments. So the course is for any member of a product team, and especially UX content, UX and content writers, UX graphic designers, microcopy experts, localization content and marketing managers, linguists, and we can even tailor-made an organizational training if there is an organization that wants to group some of its writers and have a training specifically tailored for it. So the course has 6 main chapters. We'll start with a deep overview of the localization industry. We'll go over definitions, where it's found, the processes, the players, and everything that has to do with quality assurance. The localization process in terms of LSPs, language service providers, and the linguist, each role, and the CAT tools will go into those as well. And we'll cover...
Oli is asking about the previous slide with the CAT tools. So if you can go to that slide.
Well, CAT tools are computed assistant translation tools. Basically, when I get a project, I translate it in a dedicated tool that has that client's terminology and a translation memory. So everything that I translate for Airbnb, for example, is done with a CAT tool, with the tool names MateCat, and everything translated for Google we do on a Google specific tool. So either the end company or the translation agencies have their own preferred tools. And it simply means that everything that I translate for a certain company is done with that software, with that tool. So in the 3rd chapter, we'll cover content types, and there are really a lot of content types, and we learn the goal of each and the target audience of each and its components. And we'll cover CTA, call to actions. We'll cover consistency when we translate a user assistance, for example, an article that is referring to some components in the UI, in the user interface. We need to make sure that we translate accurately the term in the user interface. So we'll go over that. We'll go over readability, fluency, transcreation, which means how to deliver a translation that doesn't look like a translation. It looks like it was written in the original, in the end target or the target language to begin with. And we'll cover the writing for mobile versus a writing for web in terms of length, character limits, and so on. We'll go into cultural considerations, cultural references, slang and politeness, colors, fonts, images, humor. Each culture and locale has its own meaning of different components. Organizational language, the form of address, should it be informal or formal, and we'll cover the style guide, what should it include, and how we can define the voice and tone of the company. We'll go over context and why it is so important for us to have context in order to really translate your content as accurately as possible. And we'll cover common mistakes and obstacles, how to write clear descriptions in terms of noun, is the string a noun or a verb, a destination, where it will be shown. We'll talk about strict segmentation and references like screenshots, URLs, and other types. And we'll go over internationalization. We'll cover ICU syntax. Those are strings that are written the same, but refer to different variables in terms of gender or singular plural. How to localize units, time, dates, currencies, days and month. BiDi issues, right to left and left to right markers, tags and placeholders, locale-based punctuation norms, localization of XML code, and that's it. So as you can see, it's really an extensive course that I try to cover as much as content as possible to really help you understand the basics of localization and how to do it correctly. So we'll have 8 weekly sessions, 4 hours each, and we'll have 2 courses, one in the morning and one in the afternoon, so you can find a time that best suits your area zone. Of course, it will be on Zoom. And we now have an early birds offer with 10% discount. So instead of $900, it's only $810, and it's valid for the next 48 hours. Yuval, will you put on the chat the link to the course info? You can, everything that I spoke about the course, you can find on that landing page of the Localization for UX course. And from there, you also have a link to register.
All right. Yes, I just shared the link. Timothy is asking, it was a great meeting. Thank you for everyone to covering all of the great information. Have a great day. Thank you, Timothy. Thank you so much. If anyone have a question about the program, so let me just share with you our emails, Rachel's email. Hold on. So this is Rachel.
Of course, yeah. Well, you have here the emails as well. And of course, please don't be shy. And if you have any question that wasn't answered, or if you want to consult about some best practice, or your racking your brains about how to best write a sentence, feel free to contact me. You can contact me over email, WhatsApp, or LinkedIn. And I'm here, of course, with everything that you need. I'll stop sharing now so I can see the people. Here you are. Yes, so don't be shy. Ask me. That's why I'm for. That's why I'm here for, and I'll be happy to help you as much as I can. And I think that that's it for now. Wow, I've never spoken so much, so long.
All right. So first of all, I left a feedback form here down below. So we'd love to get your feedback. It will be extremely helpful for us to get your feedback. In addition to that, we've shared the page for the workshop, so check it out. Sorry, for the class. If you have any question, feel free to ask Rachel or ask me via email. We're going to send you the recording of today, and we're going to send you the slides for today. So
we'll
don't worry about
upload the
it.
recording to our YouTube channel, so you can have access to it, and we'll share, of course, the presentation of today with the practices. And check us out on Facebook with the UX writing hub and the Versio Academy school page and our new localization community. And of course, if you're on Clubhouse, register to the localization talks so we can talk a bit more about localization. And join the course. You had a very small taste today of how enormous is localization and how much there is to learn more about it, to really provide good content so we can do a good job of conveying your message as clear as possible. Join us.
All right. So thank you everyone for joining us for today. It was awesome. Every person that stayed until the end, you're the best. And thank you for contributing the discussions. Thank you, Rachel, for doing this event for like 1 hour and a half. I know it's not easy, so thank you for that.
And in English.
In English, right?
Yeah.
Of course. And thank you everyone for joining us today. We would love for your feedback. We would love to hear from you. And that's about it. See you in our next events. We're planning to do some more workshops.
Spread the news, spread the word with your local product teams in your organization, and ask for your boss to register you to the course and to learn more about localization. That's an idea, no, Amanda? Yeah. Thank you very much, guys. It was a blast and a pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right.